Chesapeake Bay watershed. What is a watershed? Well, it's a land area that channels rainfall and snowmelt to creeks, streams, and rivers, and eventually to outflow points such as reservoirs, bays, and the ocean. Water from hundreds and often thousands of creeks and streams flow from higher ground to rivers that eventually wind up into a larger water body. As the water flows, it often picks up pollutants, which may have sinister effects on the ecology of the watershed and ultimately on the reservoir, bay, or the ocean where it ends up. 6 states make up the Chesapeake Bay watershed: Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and West Virginia. Notice that not all of the state is included in the watershed, but it's still 64,000 square miles. The watershed is limited to areas that actually drain into the bay. Southern Virginia Beach is not in the Chesapeake Bay watershed because it is south of the bay. It is, however, part of the Currituck Sound watershed. There are 5 main rivers of the Chesapeake Bay: the Susquehanna, the Potomac, the Rappahannock, the York, and the James. You need to know these from the north to the south. There's a mnemonic that helps with that. Students, please remember your jackets. Students is for Susquehanna, please is for Potomac, remember is Rappahannock, your is the York River, and jackets is the James River. There are more than 150 rivers and tributaries that run water into the bay, but these are the 5 main rivers. Rivers on the western shore are generally larger than those on the eastern shore. The eastern shore is characterized by marshlands and support a variety of waterfowl. 52% of the bay's fresh water comes from the Susquehanna River, which is the main river of the bay. Some of the largest cities on the East Coast lie in the watershed. Many industries, farms, and large communities are found in the watershed. All of the activities from these affect the water and its system in some way. We have New York, all the way down to Norfolk, Virginia, part of 6 states. The ratio of land to water is 14 to 1. We're the largest of any coastal water body in the world. Our actions have a huge impact on the bay's health. The bay's watershed is home to more than 18 million people. 10 million of them live along or near the bay's shores. About 150,000 new people move into the bay each year. These are the watersheds of the bay. If you see, we have New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, part of Delaware, D.C. is included, part of West Virginia, and part of Virginia. Before European settlers began to arrive some 400 years ago, the lands were mostly forested and scattered with American Indian settlements. Vast forest and wetlands absorbed and filtered rainwater as it ran across the land to the bay. Unfortunately, much of the growth that continues across the bay watershed is sprawl, insufficiently managed, scattered, and spread out development. Look at the edges of our suburbs from the air, and you will see pockets of subdivisions and strip malls hopscotching into previously undeveloped forest, meadows, and farmland. Because the development is far from existing communities, the public says that new roads and maintenance, as well as fire, police, and other services, are needed to support the growth. Sprawl also destroys nature's filters and increases polluted runoff. Smart growth also means saving farms and forests. A farm that is well managed to keep manure, fertilizer, and other farm products out of nearby creeks and to keep its forested area intact is better for the environment than a new subdivision that paves pastures and croplands, bringing more septic systems, polluted runoff, and air and water pollution from traffic on new roads. Conserving open land and planting additional trees will not only save the bay and its aquatic life, it will preserve the habitat for animals on land. It is possible to restore the bay. And again, this is the Chesapeake Bay watershed. It shows the different regions of the coastal, the Piedmont, and the mountain ranges of Providences in Virginia. Better managing our growth also means repairing or mitigating the inevitable harm done by development. More pavement and rooftops means more polluted runoff. That's rain after it picks up lawn fertilizer, oil, pet waste, and other contaminants from the developed landscape. The dirty runoff flushes directly and with great force into nearby creeks and streams, ruining them for fish and carrying pollutants downstream. The watershed is huge, and every tributary, every river, every stream in it will eventually empty into the bay. Along with the water comes pollutants that can destroy the bay itself. These are the rivers that are part of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. You'll notice that there are thousands of them. Waterfowl and other birds migrating along the Atlantic flyaway stop here, finding food and shelter in coves and marshes. The migration of the common loon and tundra swan are very much signs of the winter season along the Chesapeake. The Chesapeake is a winter home for tundra swans, Canadian geese, and a variety of ducks, including canvasbacks, pintails, scooters, eaters, and ruddy ducks. On average, nearly 1 million waterfowl winter each year on the bay. It is also a major nesting area for the threatened bald eagle, the once endangered brown pelican, double-crested cormorants, and the home of the world's largest population of another raptor, the osprey, with more than 2,000 nesting pairs. Just as the loon is a harbinger of winter, the osprey is Chesapeake's harbinger of spring. And these are a few of the waterfowl that we find here in our area. A moratorium on striped bass harvesting a moratorium on striped bass harvesting from 1985 to 1990 helped reverse population declines caused by overfishing, which may have made striped bass more accessible. Pause. A moratorium on striped bass harvesting helped reverse population declines caused by overfishing. Unfortunately, it may have caused striped bass more susceptible to other stresses like poor water quality. A new approach to managing fishing, setting catch limits for one species based on what's happening to another, is coming for the menhaden. The Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission voted in August to set future quotas for menhaden based on how the catch affects the population of striped bass. The clash between commercial fishing of menhaden for use in making fish oil, pet food, and fertilizer on the one hand, and conservation groups and the recreation fishermen on the other hand, is among the sharpest around. Recreation fishermen and environmental groups say omega proteins rebuild base fish oil and fish meal business is taking on too many menhaden, leaving species like striped bass and bluefish, as well as the ospreys and marine mammals, short of food. The Commission's new approach says that the menhaden catch needs to be at a level that ensures the number of striped bass is at its target when recreational and commercial fishermen are catching what they're allowed. And this is forested land around the Chesapeake Bay. If you notice that the orange, which is closest to the bay, is only about 25 to 45%. Most of the forested area is in the north and west of the bay. 60% of the Chesapeake's forest have been divided into disconnected fragments by roads, homes, and other gaps. Since 1990, commercial watermen have harvested more than 1.6 pounds of blue crab from the bay. Data shows the commercial harvest has been in a steady decline. In 2014, it hit the lowest level recorded in 25 years, at only 35 million pounds. Just like those on land, animals in the Chesapeake Bay need oxygen to survive. Oxygen is present in underwater in a dissolved form, and in order to thrive, animals like blue crabs need dissolved oxygen concentrations of 3 milligrams per liter. And this is the average of crabs estimated to be in the bay, and it does fluctuate, but it was at its highest in 1993. It peaked again in 2012 and went down drastically in 2013. Environmental stewardship. It is the responsible use and protection of the natural environment through conservation and sustainable practices to enhance our ecosystems, resilience, and human well-being. Stewardship action, the activities, behaviors, decisions, and technologies carried out by stewards, individuals, groups, or network of actors. Those executed collectively by groups or communities are used to manage common trust resources. Stewardship measure is the quantifiable benefits to the environment that are as a result of stewardship action or project. These are some of the stewardships that come in. Only 14% of the people use rain barrels. 26% have replaced an area with native plants. 46% never use toxic pesticides in or around their homes. And 9 in 10 never tossed food wrappers, cups, or cigarette butts on the ground. Almost 8 in 10 watershed residents will pick up that litter when they see it. Stop pollution. Native plants, and in the top left-hand corner, those are water cisterns. They're a collection of water from the rooftop generally for not for drinking, but for watering plants and using for groundwater. Types of stewardship. Half the owners pick up after their pet, only half, but 1/3 of pet owners seldom or never do. Pet waste has a lot of bacteria in it and can very much contaminate the water that we drink and use, we swim in, and we fish in. 1/3 of the watershed residents have volunteered their time or donated money to the organizations that help around the bay. 70% want to do more but don't know how to do more. And 86% of the residents believe that if people work together, that water pollution can be fixed. Restoration and protection. Actions that assist in the recovery or preservation of an ecosystem that has been degraded, damaged, or destroyed, and allow that the ecosystem to evolve with minimal human influence. The following examples are actions that lead to improved biodiversity or ecosystem health. Clean up litter at a local beach, park, or school ground. Assist local estuaries, parks, and other nature areas with planting or restoring protected vegetation or trees. Restore local habitat. Remove invasive plants. Develop a school garden, a natural history area, a community garden, or another sustainable green space and measure the changes that it makes. Install rain gardens to help manage stormwater. Everyday choices can be actions that reduce resource inputs and emissions per unit of output through technical change, or purchasing, use, and disposal behaviors. Start by expanding a recycling program at home or school and measure the effect of the change. Monitor and save water in the face of potential drought or reduction in available water. Upcycle discarded materials. Compost food or yard waste. Community awareness. Give presentations to local organizations, share information on social media, organize community events, record and broadcast public service announcements, post flyers in your community. Conservation awareness activities help individuals believe that the environment is valuable and under threat and should be protected from human activities. And this has always been one of my favorite, scoop the poop, pest waste. I don't want to swim in pest waste. I don't want to kayak in pest waste. I don't want to be picking up my fish when I'm fishing if they're laying in pet waste.